Hi there, it's Samantha here from Using Technology Better, and in this video I'm going to share some of the exciting announcements that came out of the Google Next conference in San Francisco in April 2019. So my boss Mike Redding and I were lucky enough to head up to San Francisco and take part in the conference, and one of my favourite bits about going to Next is getting to go to all the different little sessions where you get sneak peeks at what's coming. So there is always the formal announcements, many of which you can read on Google Blogs and that kind of thing. But there's also those little sneak peeks of features that are on the roadmap or in planning that we can get excited about. So I've got a few to share with you. Now, before we start though, I just want to make sure you realize that many of the updates that I'm going to share with you are not yet guaranteed for release by Google. So all I'm doing is taking the information that I picked up at the sessions and summarizing it in this video for you. So the things that I talk about, some of them may not ever be released, or if they are, they may be significantly changed from what was presented at Next. So where things are already announced or in beta or something like that, I have indicated that in the video, but some of them aren't. So just be aware of that and keep your expectations appropriate. So let's start with Gmail. So what is available or released in beta? So Hangouts chat in Gmail is currently released in beta. So that is the new Hangouts chat tool, which is going to replace the classic Hangouts that you'll see in the Gmail interface. So usually you've got that in the bottom left corner. So it'll be the Hangouts chat interface there instead. So at the time we're recording this, it's mid-April 2019. So that program, as I said, is in beta. So you can look that up and your organization can join. The other thing that's in beta is some advanced phishing and malware protection, which will be of interest to those Google G Suite administrators out there. So definitely worth taking a look at. Now, some exciting things that are on the roadmap are under development. So the first one is some search improvements, and Google have called these search filter chips that will appear when you search. Now, this was actually something that we got a sneak peek at last year at Next, back in July 2018. So this is still something that's coming, but basically the idea is that it's going to uncover some of those advanced search features that people often don't see and make it really easy to use. Second one there I know is going to be really popular with a lot of our clients is the ability to attach emails to other emails. So I saw a little animated GIF of this and it was basically a drag and drop, which I thought looked really, really easy. So no time frames on these yet, but definitely saw some look and feel for what they're going to be. So that's hopefully promising. Another really interesting one is multiple signatures, because again, this has been another pain point for people. So particularly those of you that might have separate identities in your organization or work with multiple accounts, multiple roles, that will be something of interest. There's also some interesting changes to conversation view on the agenda as well. So if you don't use conversation view, so if it's off, what Google are planning to do is actually show more details in the header of each email that's actually in the thread. So this is something that other products already do, so you can quickly go back through sort of the history of an email and see who sent it and that kind of thing. So that's something that's going to be quite interesting. The other one that I think people are going to love is that when you're using Conversation View on, a little new tag or indicator will be shown next to the individual emails in that conversation that are new. So I think this will help a lot of people actually stick with Conversation View rather than turning it off, because that's a common complaint I get from people is that, well, when I open a conversation, I get confused and I don't know which emails are actually new. So this will solve that. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. Also saw a preview of a new quick setup, sort of suggestions for new users. So quick setup, something that we don't see all the time because we're obviously only a new user generally a couple of times with a Google account. But basically when you get a new Google account, it pops up the top some suggestions of how you might want to set that up. So Google are looking to improve that so that suggestions that are shown up are things that people actually really need to do. Things like setting signatures and that kind of stuff. Related to that is I saw a preview of the new quick settings little box that will pop out from the right side of the screen. So i.e. you click on the settings cog button and there'd be a quick settings option. And this would include things like theme, inbox configuration, preview pane, those kind of customizations that people generally have to go digging in the settings for. So that would be good to see that out as well. And the last one there, again, I know is going to be really popular with some of our clients, is some improvements to shared mailboxes or delegate access as we often know it. So again, this is still in development, but things that were suggested and we saw a preview of was the ability to have an assignment feature within a shared mailbox. So you basically had everyone's names and you could assign emails to particular people so that they knew what they were managing. Also was the ability to send emails anonymously from a shared mailbox. So basically as it works now is if I send an email from a shared mailbox, it's sent by that mailbox, but it's got my name in brackets as the actual sender. So the individual is identified even though they're sending from a shared account. So this has caused some issues with some clients, including some clients of ours in the past in terms of privacy. So that's going to hopefully be an option that can be enabled or disabled at the mailbox level. So that's awesome. The other thing is currently there's a limit. I think it's 25 concurrent users or users of a shared mailbox. That's the maximum amount you can delegate access to. That's going to be raised and there's going to be up to 40 concurrent users, but with the ability to share with more. So just obviously 40 can use it at the same time, but more might have delegate access. So some really promising stuff there coming for Gmail. Now moving over to Calendar, just a few things here, and these are all available or in beta. So Google Assistant is now integrated with G Suite calendars. So if you use the Google Assistant on your phone or perhaps on a Google Home device, you can use that now to call up your G Suite calendar. The Meet With box, and this is actually something that's just popped up for me in my account. So that's currently rolling out. So it gives you the ability to peek at calendars. So in your Google Calendar on the left, there was a box that said Add a Colleague's Calendar. That's now called Meet With. And if you type in a person's name, you get a sneak preview of their calendar without having to add it to the other calendars list. If you do then go and create a new meeting while you're peeking at their calendar, it will actually add them as a guest, which is really cool. The other thing you may have noticed is there's now more fields in the event creation pop-up box. So when you just click on a time slot in Google Calendar, you get the little pop-up box that's like a shortcut for creating an event. It's now got more fields, which is really useful because it means you're going to more than often than not probably be able to create a calendar event from the pop-up box without having to go into the full event creation interface. All right, then we get on to some exciting stuff in Google Drive. And this is so much I've had to split it over 2 slides. So first one, what's available or in beta. So extra security for Drive file stream is rolling out. And this is stuff that's mainly going to be of interest to administrators. So it's going to be integrated with Google Device Management. And basically you could set it up so that Google Drive file stream can only be limited to work on company-owned devices, for example, or BYO devices with approval. Also, it would give the administrator the ability to block or wipe a device, file stream particularly, on those devices quite easily. So it just means that companies can have more security around the files that are accessible via Drive file stream. Also, a long-awaited thing, Drive file stream is now going to be available for Windows Server 2012 and above. Now, there's also a new Google Drive plugin for Microsoft Outlook. So this will give you the ability to browse for files from Drive and insert them in an Outlook email or save files from Outlook to Drive. And this also is going to be in place of what was a Google Drive plugin for Microsoft Office. So that's gone now because of Drive file stream. So this is an extra plugin that will just give you that ability in Outlook. Now, probably one of the biggest announcements from the conference and one that I'm quite excited about is the ability to edit Microsoft Office files natively in docs, sheets and slides without converting them. So at the moment, if you wanted to edit a Microsoft Office file that was stored in Google Drive, you'd either have to use FileStream to open it in Word or Excel or PowerPoint, or there was a plugin that you could use, Chrome extension that you could use that wasn't great, I didn't think. Or you had to convert them to a Google format. But now you can actually keep it in the Microsoft Office format and use the full doc, sheets and slides editors. Now, Google have said there's going to be enhanced conversion fidelity because that's obviously something that's been an issue in the past, and also more transparency. So if you do open a Word file, for example, in Google Docs, and there's something that doesn't work, it will actually tell you that this particular bit isn't going to work. But more importantly, it won't strip that functionality from the document. Now, or a good example of this is actually in Sheets. So if there's macros in an Excel file and you open that in Google Sheets, the macros aren't going to work in Google Sheets, but they're not going to be removed from the file. So when you do open it back up in Excel, it's still going to work. What's also exciting about this is there is collaboration on these files, these Office files in doc sheets and slides, and also full revision history, which I think is great. So definitely some really good stuff there. One thing I wanted to add is I did ask a question at this session about the fidelity. One of the features that we're still missing in Google Docs is the ability to have mixed page orientations in the same document. So like a portrait, landscape kind of deal. So I did raise that as an issue and said, well, how's that going to work with a Word file that's opened in Docs? The response I got was that Google definitely know this is an issue. It is definitely being worked on and is something they're aware of that needs to be fixed. So I'm really hopeful that means we're going to see it at some point soon. A couple of other things that are in beta. So metadata on Google Drive files. So the ability to create metadata fields, add some tags, search on the tags. So that's good. And also this can be customized at a team drive level too, which I think is really interesting. PIN verified visitor file sharing. So this is cool because at the moment, if you want to share a file with someone that doesn't have a Google account, you've either got to get them to get one or you've got to share it to anyone with a link, which does have security implications. So with this particular feature, you'll actually be able to share it with any email address, but there'll be a PIN code attached. So when that person puts on the PIN code, which they'll get via email, then they are actually shown as a full collaborator in the document. So you've got them in the revision history and stuff like that. Something else that's rolling out at the moment, the ability to hide team drives. So if you do have a lot of team drives in your interface, you can actually hide some of them, which is good, keep it nice and clean. And also the ability to search for team drive files by creator. So, in our training sessions, we often show people how to search for a document that's owned by a particular person, but that's kind of irrelevant when documents are in team drives because the owner is not the individual. So this option, which is basically creator : and then the name of or email address of the person you want to search on, will show you all the files that person has created in that team drive. So I'm really pleased about that one. Now, some stuff that's on the roadmap. So a beta is coming soon for approval workflows on Google Drive files. And again, this is something that we saw a preview of at Next last year. So excited to see that it's still coming. And this is a really, really useful thing in that you'll be able to do a document, a sheet or a slide and send it off for approval. It'll actually be locked during the approval process. The approver will have the ability to give feedback and go back and forth. And then a final version of the document will be able to be approved and it can stay locked from editing as well. So it just makes that version control a lot better. The other one, which I really liked, which is just directional 2019, which means we don't have any key date, it may not even eventuate. So, but was make a shortcut function. So in the demo, you basically saw you could right click on a file in Google Drive and choose the make a shortcut option and actually put a shortcut to that file somewhere else in Google Drive. So for those of you that might have come to our training or watched some of our videos, we often talk about using Shift Z as a way to put or add a file to a second location in Google Drive. So it's not a separate copy, it's just basically one file shown in multiple places. Now this is sort of a similar idea, I guess, but the key thing with the Shift Z that we always show was that it doesn't work in team drives. So this is fantastic because it means you'll be able to create shortcuts between files in different team drives and all over the place. Access controls won't change, but I know even in our team there are so many ways that I could use that. Also saw a preview of a redesigned sharing dialog box, which I was really pleased about because at the moment, we've got one style sharing box in Team Drives and one in Google Drive or in My Drive, and they work differently. The Team Drives one is really quite slow and cumbersome, so the redesign one looks a lot simpler and it looks clean, and the advanced options are really easy to access too, and it's clearer who you're sharing with. So hoping we see that one soon. Two other things, so customized link sharing options within a domain. So at the moment you can sort of share via link to anyone in your team or your organization, or externally. This gives you the option to go at a lower level. So it might be share with the link with anyone in marketing or the senior executive or whatever those groups may be. So I don't have a lot more details on that, but it's something that looks interesting. And then the big one. So any of you that came to my training in the first half of 2019 would have known that I was really hoping that we'd get a full announcement on folder level sharing in Team Drives at Next. So didn't quite get that, but did get some more information. So it is 100% definitely on the roadmap / under development. So to sort of almost semi-quote what I was told, it is the highest priority with a huge team working on it. However, there is currently a next generation of infrastructure for Google Drive that's being worked on and implemented. And that is what's holding up the folder level sharing. So until that next level or next generation of infrastructure is implemented for Drive, we can't see folder level sharing. So sort of the technical side of it there. So good news, guys, it's coming. I don't have a date for it, but it's definitely coming. So hopefully that will be good news and that we'll see some more on that shortly. All right, now what about the Google Docs editors? What's happening with them? So a couple of things. You will have probably already seen 2 new features rolling out on the activity dashboard, one being the comment trend section and the other one being the sharing history section. So that just adds a little bit more functionality to the activity dashboard. There's also a BigQuery data connector for Google Sheets, so we can sort of have big sheets, and that is super exciting because what it means is that you can actually have up to 10 billion rows in a Google Sheet using this connector, and that's in beta. So for those of you doing a lot of stuff with data analysis and that kind of thing with Sheets, this is huge. Now, the spelling and grammar tool that's been on the horizon for a while in Google Docs still remains in beta. Now, things that are under development or on the roadmap. In Google Sheets, new chart types, inline chart editing, and a reports feature. So that's good. And now one other thing which is actually not listed there, but I definitely want to talk about, is the ability to edit the history or see the edit history of a single cell in Google Sheets, which I think is really exciting. So the moment you can go into the revision history in Google Sheets and actually see revisions like you can in the other tools. But with this, you can just right click on a cell and view the version history just on that cell who's changed it. In Google Slides, so one-click bulk updating of linked content. So let's just say you've pasted a whole lot of charts into Google Slides, or maybe you've pasted slides from other slides and you've used the link option so that they've stayed consistent. If you have made changes to the source files, you can then do a one-click update in the slide deck, your own slide deck, and update all of those. So hopefully that will be quite useful when it comes out. And one that I think is super exciting is Google Docs side-by-side document comparison. So this is particularly probably of interest to those in the legal teams out there. So you will be able to see 2 documents side by side, see the differences between them, and those differences will be shown as suggestions. So it really helps with that comparison of files. Okay, now Google Sites. So this particular one, there was one session on Google Sites and we didn't get to catch all of the sessions. So I'm not going to be able to give you a comprehensive list here because there will possibly be things that we miss. So many sessions at Next to get to, it's often hard to fit them all in. So some things though that we have seen. So now these are all on the roadmap under development. I don't have timeframes, but Google Cloud Search embedded into a Google site. So for those of you that use cloud search in your organization, this will just mean you'll be able to do a cloud search from within a Google site. So great if you're doing intranets and stuff with Google sites. A usage dashboard for administrators, just to be able to see greater statistics about how sites are being used and that kind of thing. One that I think is really good, a unified homepage for classic and new Google sites, because currently we've still got the 2 different locations for that. So that's going to be great. Some templates, so both organizational level and from Google, so some site templates. The mandatory Google branding removed. So that's what's right down the bottom of a Google site. It's quite subtle, but it is there. So that will be able to be removed. And also the ability to publish sites to Google Groups, which was apparently quite a popular announcement when it was made. Now, 2 things that are being considered. One is page level sharing, which is a really big feature in the classic Google sites and one that I know a lot of people are missing. And Mike tells me there was a lot of interesting discussion about this in the session. So apparently Google aren't necessarily a fan of the concept of page level sharing because they think it can sort of be difficult to manage and cause some issues, but they also recognize that the user voice on this is very strongly in favor of it. So that is why it is being considered. So no yay or nay on this, but it is under consideration, as is sharing a Google site with whitelisted domains. Okay, so that brings us to the last few things. So Google Voice for G Suite is now generally available. So if that's something your organization's been waiting for, you can go and check it out. G Suite add-ons. So there's a beta coming soon from this. Now, you should be probably aware that we've currently got add-ons in Gmail, add-ons in Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, and what Google have done is actually introduce a whole new add-ons ecosystem called G Suite add-ons. So there's going to be one platform available through the G Suite stores, and you can grab an add-on that will work across those tools. Now, it's not to say that one add-on is going to work across all of them, because some are only designed for one tool, but it is going to be a different platform, and it looks a lot more integrated and easier for developers if they want to write for several different tools. So yeah, more information on that coming. Will affect more the developers in the early stages until that comes out for the end users, but keep an eye on that. So another big announcement was Google Plus, which, as you probably know, has now disappeared for the consumer and is just left as a G Suite application. It has been renamed to Google Currents, and that version of it is currently in beta. So it has some similarities to Google Plus, has some cool new features. So I did enjoy the session on that. There's some interesting stuff from a social perspective that can be useful within an organization. So if you're keen to check that out, I do recommend the beta program. Third-party Google Cloud Search, so is now generally available to eligible customers. Eligible customers generally meaning those on G Suite Enterprise or those that are paying for Google Cloud Search. So it just means you can use Google Cloud Search to search across your internal files and systems as well. For those Android phone users out there, including myself, I'm quite excited about this one. You can now use your Android phone as a security key for two-step verification. So whereas before you'd have to actually just go and buy one of those physical security keys, using Bluetooth now, you can use your Android phone as that. So yeah, I think that's really cool. Another one is the potentially talk of a completely redesigned administration console as well. So that's another one for our admins out there to keep an eye on. So that brings us to the end, guys. There's a lot we've covered in that, but I hope these were useful, a bit of insight as to what's coming. Not sure how much we're going to see and when we're going to see it, but it's always nice to know what's on the horizon. So thanks for listening. See you later.